From the studios of WPGX, Fox 28, it's News View with Don Arias.
Welcome to News View. I'm Don Arias. Tonight we have Greg Laplante. Greg, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
You're running for Bay County Property Appraiser.
Right.
Now, why in the world would you want to do that? Why would you want to run for public office?
Well, for one reason, to get rid of $2 per acre property tax so we can properly support our schools and community.
Now, you say $2 property tax or $2 an acre property tax.
Exactly.
I don't pay that. Who pays $2 property tax?
People like you and I and most of the people that we know, we don't pay. We pay thousands of dollars a year. My family pays, tens of thousands of dollars a year in property taxes. But here in Bay County, you have a bunch of big corporate landowners that own more than 60% of the land in Bay County and pay less than $2 per acre in property tax.
Why is that?
Well, they're all claiming agricultural classification. They're claiming that their development land is all farmland. And if it's a farm, we don't have to pay our taxes like everybody else.
So as property appraiser, you could take a hard look at that and perhaps maybe even reclassify that land so they pay their, I hate to use the term, fair share.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is the story right there. And yes, it is up to that property appraiser because he classifies that land every year. And in the past, you have not had a strict compliance with the law. And so therefore, everyone in the county has been suffering for many, many years. And now with the budget cutbacks, they're suffering even more.
This is intriguing, Greg, because if you were to try to equalize this out, we'd possibly have a surplus, or we'd have guys like you and me would pay lower property taxes.
Yes, sir. It is estimated that Bay County is losing $75 million per year with this, and in Bay County, that is an absolute fortune.
Yeah, it is.
Absolute fortune.
That's an absolute fortune anywhere.
Yes, sir, it is.
We're coming up on a break right now, Greg, but on the other side, let's talk more about what you would do if you were elected Bay County Property Appraiser. You're watching News View. I'm Don Arias, and tonight we have Greg Laplante, candidate for Bay County Property Appraiser.
We now return to News View. Here again, Don Arias.
Welcome back to News View. I'm talking with Greg Laplante, and Greg is a candidate for Bay County Property Appraiser. Greg, you said $75 million. We're missing out on $75 million in potential property taxes and revenues for the county because corporations, big landowners are getting some sort of sweetheart deal?
Exactly. More than 60% of the land in Bay County, and I don't know the exact percentage, but it's more than 60% of the land in Bay County is owned by big corporate landowners. Some of them, like St. Joe's one of them, that's the one that most people know.
Sure, we hear
Some
about
of the other big ones, the Knight family, Knight Ritter News.
Oh,
Knight
wow.
family owns a bunch of property. One of the biggest ones is Profundus Holdings.
I never heard of that.
Exactly. Profundus Holdings is a company with the directors, and they're all from Germany.
Wow.
They're all from out of this country, and they are receiving this huge tax break when people like myself and yourself and the military people and all the good people that we know are paying thousands of dollars a year in property taxes, and these people who aren't even from the United States.
How does something like this happen? How do people like that?
See, that's the thing. I started researching records years ago. I took all the real estate courses out of the college. I was a licensed real estate broker for more than 20-something years, all the real estate courses. And so I started researching records. All the records are online, so I started researching it about the time that the valuation started going up. And people's property taxes started going up.
Sure.
And at the same time, so I started researching the records and looking at it and seeing, okay, who pays property taxes in this county and why? And who does not pay them and why? And so you start researching these records, and I've been researching them since about 2005, for, 7 years now. And it is just absolutely incredible, and I would encourage every concerned citizen in Bay County to go to the records of the Bay PA Property Appraiser's Office and to look at these records. And they have mapping on it, to click around and look at the valuations that are on there for all of these different properties in Bay County and to understand a little bit about it.
Yeah, how does the property appraiser's office determine how much you pay? Is it the way your land is classified? You pay at a different rate?
Yes, sir. On a basic, it is an ad valorem tax. So on a very basic level, ad valorem means according to the value. And so in a general sense, you know, the value of my house, the value of your house, the value of things that you own. Then we have this exception to the law, which is the agricultural classification. Now, this is a farm classification.
And that's kind of based on that maybe it's not generating that much revenue for the owner?
It is an exemption given to farms. And so why would you give exemptions to farms? You would give exemptions to farms if they had food crops, right? Because it takes more land to grow the food that people need and stuff like that. And so
that kind of makes sense.
That would make sense. That would make sense but it is very basically a farm classification.
So am I hearing you say that maybe there's some land out there that's classified as farmland that isn't necessarily farmland?
Tremendously. The statute number is FS 193.461. It is the so-called ag law. And what it says is that it has to be good faith, commercial, agricultural use of that land. And within that time frame, you could not have paid more than 3 times ag value for it. Then we look back at it. Let's say you came up with a piece of property and you wanted to claim ag. Okay, well, let's look into your background. Are you a farmer? Oh, no, I'm in the military. Well, how much did you pay for that? Oh, I paid $5 million. And you want me to value this property $100,000 or whatever? And then you find out, oh, well, they're developers. Oh, well, they're land speculators.
So we've got developers and potential land speculators that own large swaths of land in Bay County, and they're being taxed as agricultural.
Exactly, exactly. And what they need is a real strict enforcement of this. And I mean strict. Because in the past, to give you an example, when I first started researching these things, I found that they had 1,600 agricultural parcels on the list. They have what they call an ag list, which is the list of the agricultural parcels. So I was looking through there and I raised the roof with them. Raised the roof with the governor's office, with the property appraiser's office, with everybody's office.
What kind of response did you get?
I got Spitzer to remove every last one of them. He removed 1,600 parcels because of the response that I got, because I raised the roof of them.
And that was Zane Spitzer, the former
yes, sir. We got 1,600 parcels off of that ag list, so I thought, well, fine. That's it. Did a good job. I can go home now.
So you did your civic duty and you cleaned up the list.
I can go home now. I'm happy. Then I come to find out later on, Spitzer put over 1,000 of them back on there without physical inspections. So the bottom line is right now, because of me, there is 500 less parcels claiming agricultural classification. And so there is 500 less parcels paying this $2 per acre tax rate. So it's tremendous. When I first talked to Spitzer about it, he said, well, Greg, I think you're right about this. I think there's at least 25% of these properties that don't belong on there. Well, guess what? After I got him to remove them, we got more than 30%. It's probably about 33% because we started out with 1,600 parcels minus the 500 that Greg, as a private citizen, got off of there. And now we're down to 1,000, I think it's 1,000 or 1,100 parcels. And let's take a good hard look at those and get those people off of there.
And that's you as John Q. citizen doing this.
Yes, sir.
And the property appraiser's office was what, asleep at the switch, or just not aware of it? Or
they're aware, or they're some good old boy people, or they don't want to rock the boat, anything else. But I'll tell you what, I am inspired to do this kind of, to do this type of thing. People like yourself, people like Bernie Thompson, people like Darrell Day, you have got to get out there and fight for your rights. Otherwise, you are going to lose everything.
And it's just, and it's maddening to people who pay a lot of taxes when you've got a house and a family and a wife and 2.3 kids and a dog, and you're paying all these taxes, and somebody gets to classify a large swath of land as agricultural, and they get off the hook for taxes?
Yes.
It's just amazing to me.
I've appeared before the legislative delegation several times, and I have come up and showed them some of the records. Oh, look at this parcel, and dropped their mouths right on the table at the college. Several times.
You know, we've got to run off to a break now, Greg. But on the other side of that, let's talk about the possible remedies to this.
Right.
And let's talk about why people should vote for Greg LaPlante,
Right.
so we can get these guys off the rolls
Yes.
and off our backs and paying their
Fair share.
Fair share.
Yes.
You're watching NewsView, and I'm talking with property appraiser candidate Greg LaPlante.
We now return to NewsView. Here again, Don Arias.
Welcome back to NewsView. I'm Don Arias, and I'm talking with Greg LaPlante. We're talking about some stunning revelations, for me at least,
Right.
that there are pretty well-heeled people, corporations, even foreign corporations and people who are not U.S. citizens,
Right.
getting just really sweet deals
Massive.
on their property taxes,
Yes, sir.
while us working schlubs
Right.
are trying to do the right thing.
Right.
How do we turn this thing around?
Well, it's very easy. All you'd have to do, we've got to get those people out of that office. And the first thing you do is you go in there. I will go in there and I will remove every last one of these agricultural properties, and I will demand strict compliance with the law. And I do mean strict compliance with this law, the FS 193.462. Right, strict compliance with this ag law. We remove all these ag properties, and if you want, and bear in mind, these people are not operating under the law. They are operating under an exemption to the law. Okay, so the law applies to everybody else, and here they are. The most wealthy people are these big corporations.
And they're getting exemptions.
Exemptions.
Because they're claiming that they're agricultural when they may not really be. There are people getting exemptions because they may or may not be handicapped, and they don't have to offer any proof of their handicap.
Right.
And it's just amazing to me that I can say, hey, I'm a farmer, or I'm a handicapped farmer,
Right.
and now I pay $2 an acre or don't pay anything at all.
Exactly. It's just incredible.
Let me ask you this. You know, say Greg LaPlante is elected as property appraiser. Is the property appraiser's office properly equipped to do physical inspections of all of the properties that may be claiming agricultural? Or is the burden of proof lie on the property owner to get this exemption?
I'm quite certain that they are required by law to do physical inspections on these properties before they come on to this, before they are granted this. Because this agricultural classification isn't a classification that is granted by the property appraiser. They have a form for it, and you fill out the form, and the property appraiser has to sign off of it.
So the
and
property
grant this.
appraiser can grant that exemption?
Yes, sir.
With no oversight?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the problem.
That's a heck of a lot of power for one
It is
office.
tremendous. And if they turn them down, okay, they still have several options. The property appraiser does not have the final say on it. They can then, if they get turned down, they can then take that, take their case to the Value Adjustment Board, or they can take their case to court. So the property appraiser is charged with determining this, you know, and he can grant it or deny it, but he does not have the final say on it.
So Greg LaPlante is elected as property appraiser. It's not going to be easy to get an exemption.
Exactly.
You're going to have to prove your exemption worthy,
Exactly.
apparently.
Exactly. They'd have to prove it. I mean, and just like yourself as a military person, right? Well, why don't I just walk into the commissary and say, hey, I'm military, I'll go do this or that?
I got to show an ID card when I go
I'm
in
not
there.
entitled to it. I'm not entitled. I have no business doing it.
I spent 30 years in the military. I think I earned that,
Yes, sir.
that privilege.
Yes,
so
sir. You have earned
but they
it.
still ask me for ID
Exactly.
when I go in to shop in the commissary.
Exactly.
But I could walk into the property appraiser's office, presumably, and ask for an agricultural exemption without them even looking at my land.
Exactly. They didn't look at it. We need strict enforcement of the laws. Why? Because Bay County desperately needs the revenue from this property appraiser's office, because that's where most of their revenue comes from. Okay? The schools depend upon this. The school teachers depend upon this.
Yeah.
All of our law enforcement people that risk their lives depend upon this. All of our military people. I mean, and I'm not doing this for myself. I'm a successful small businessman. I live out at the beach. I live very comfortably, but I'm doing this for the people of Bay County, because I've studied this thing for 6 years. I know it like the back of my hand, and I'll tell you what, this is ridiculous. It is, again.
You know, and more than that, Greg, it's not only is it ridiculous, if everything we're talking about now is accurate,
Right.
it's scandalous.
It is scandalous, and I can show you the documents for the scandal. And it is just absolutely incredible. I mean, just incredible.
This is just fascinating to me.
The people of Bay County deserve much better than what they're getting. And I'm going to try to help the people of Bay County, and I would appreciate it if they would try to help me, to help them to straighten this mess out so that Bay County can go forward on a more stable financial footing.
I mean, $75 million in lost revenues.
Exactly. And look, you have a brand new airport. You have, I believe it's a $25 million governmental complex, which is a nice place, which is good.
Sure.
But you tell me, how many acres at $2 an acre does it take to pay for a $25 million building? It is a mathematical impossibility. Anything.
So who's paying for it?
Anything. That burden is then placed upon everyone else. And that's the unfair part.
Guys like me that
Guys
have a little
like you.
house in the suburbs and a little plot and a pool and a yard.
Yeah.
And
Especially,
we're carrying the water on all this.
yes, sir, especially the military people, because you guys have fought and died for this country historically, and you deserve better than that. And that's why I'm doing it.
And so many people are unaware of this.
Oh,
I mean,
I know
because
it.
when I get my property tax, I just pay it.
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, the bank pays it as part of my mortgage.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I don't give it a second thought. It's just the
Exactly.
cost of doing business in the area's family.
Yes, sir.
But when you've got people who have figured it out
Right.
and cracked the code
Exactly.
and are taking advantage of this exemption,
Exactly.
it really makes you mad.
Exactly. It is just absolutely incredible. It requires a little bit of research to do this, and I do a tremendous amount of research. I mean, I'm always on the computer researching things. Some people like to watch football or baseball. I don't. I study things. I'm constantly studying things, and I watch people. I watch your show. I watch a lot of the outstanding people that you have on your show, and I listen very carefully. And I listen for a long time, and I study for a long time before I ever say anything about it. But once I do say something about it,
Look out.
here we go. They're going to get it, both barrels.
Well, how can people help? How can we help?
They can help by
solve
spreading
this?
the word. Number one, by going to my website. I have a website called gregforbaypa.com. That's gregforbaypa.com. And they can spread the word. They can read some of the information. I have some of those outrageous valuations posted on there. And you have to be an educated voter. and
So
you
if
have
we
to
go
learn.
to gregforbaypa.com, we can see some examples
Yes, sir.
of how people are really taking unfair advantage of the rest of us by paying artificially low property taxes because they're getting an exemption the rest of us don't enjoy.
Exactly, and that's my motto. Let's get rid of $2 an acre and properly support our schools and community. That's what it's all about.
Greg, we've got to run off to a break, but let's talk more about it on the other side. You're watching Newsview, and I've got Greg Laplante tonight as my guest.
You're watching Newsview with Don Arias.
Welcome back to Newsview. I'm talking with Greg Laplante, who is a candidate for property appraiser here in Bay County. Greg, you've been blowing me away
Right.
with property taxes here, and it just seems so fishy.
Right.
And it seems like there's some deals going on that the most of us stupid taxpayers really don't have the time to look into. I mean, people are busy with their lives,
Right.
and we rely on guys like you to do the research and to shine the light on what's going on out there. And if you read the papers, a couple property appraisers ago, there was some controversy where there was personal interests involved in land deals.
Right.
There was a property appraiser who left unceremoniously and had to be replaced by the governor.
Right.
And now we've got a property appraiser that, for the most of us, seems okay, but we're not doing the research you're doing.
Exactly.
And you're finding all these exemptions.
Exactly. You really have to be, well, I've been watchdogging them. I've just been watchdogging them. And if anyone were to kind of attach themselves to any particular cause, you know, like you do or like Daryl did, something like that, if you attach yourself to something really good, like a bulldog, and just bite on the hair and don't let go, you're going to find things. This is just simply the area that I have researched. You know, I have not researched, you know, many of the other areas that other people are experts on, but I just kind of concentrated on this and looking at it and analyzing it, and I watch these records and watch all this stuff. But then again, you know, a lot of people, you put people in office and you trust them. I mean, you know, there's always an element of trust between people, between you and I and everyone else. And,
Greg,
you don't want to think bad things about people or whatever.
Of course not.
Yeah.
And we rely on the honesty and integrity
Exactly.
that we have in a good government. We're out of
Exactly.
time, Greg. But that website, again, is www.gregforbaypa.com.
Yes, sir. GregForBayPA.com.
And find out more about this crazy situation and ask Greg some questions, because he's the smartest guy I know about property taxes. You've been watching NewsView. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Yes, America.